China's embassy just said they are not having any talks on tariffs and that the U.S. should stop creating confusion.
Now, China claims all this talk about negotiations and de-escalation was just talk. The president claimed negotiations were underway. Well, this morning, China refutes that claim.
China insinuating today that President Trump is lying. We should note that the Communist Chinese government has a long history of lying. Although, anyway.
You said that there are talks with China every day. Who are the talks with and at what level? Because the Chinese are saying that's not true.
President Trump is telling lies. The lie is that China's President Xi Jinping has called him to talk about tariffs.
Now to China. Beijing is now considering official trade talks with the United States, but it is also requesting that Washington cancel its unilateral tariff measures first. The tariffs already taking a toll on China. The April manufacturing activity in China seeing its sharpest downturn in more than a year. Now, the CCP is quietly exempting a quarter of U.S. imports, which is around $40 billion. That includes more than 130 items like pharmaceuticals and industrial chemicals.
Would you look at that? Everything went off today without a hitch. Finally. Jeez, please. I thank you very much. It means so much. It actually is pretty surprising, especially after the way every day up until now is gone last week. It just, it was just a mess. And I'm really sorry, but geez, I was kind of a wreck by the end of it. Because seriously, like, every time I got something, I thought, okay, I'm fixed, everything's good. Something else came up, and it was like everything from something that was going on for my mom's birthday I had no idea about until like the day of, to the, what was the thing that was going on? Oh yeah, something weird with my computer when I put some new RAM in, and then something weird happened, and I think it has to do with the new motherboard I actually put in before I put the new RAM in, and just, I don't know exactly what happened, but there was another one, and then by the time it got around to the last day, and then I had, it was an audio problem. I don't even remember what was going on. I was like, I give up. I'm so screwed. So I took some time and I waited and I figured it out and I got it working, but I just was like, it's just not happening this week. And it really sucked because I had a lot to talk about, and I'm going to be talking about it today. But if you are the type of person to read the descriptions on the shows, you'll know that I'm just going to do this as kind of a just a way to bring everybody up to speed, because there was a lot of stuff going on at the end of last week, and it was pretty significant. And it kind of the clip that opened up the show, well, the clips kind of more or less that opened the show, because that was just a smashed compilation of a bunch of stuff, because it's in line with the theme of today's episode. And I don't usually do that whole theme for an episode kind of thing. I just kind of title them based on what the most prominent story is, and something maybe that's funny or a play on words or whatever. I know it's goofy, but that's what I like to do. But in this case, it actually is a theme for today's show, because you'll notice, especially even just from the intro, we have a class of people in quote-unquote journalism, or in this case, left-wing media, that to report on what they want the reality to be, not what actually is happening. And the reason so many people have no idea that, like, for example, that the guy was actually an MS-13 member, which, by the way, I found an interesting photo that we'll go over today. But the reason a lot of people have no idea all the evidence about why he was, about how he was actually affiliated with MS-13, is because They just report on what they wish was true or what they fantasize about reality and not what the actual reality is. And that's true here. And as we'll talk about later in the show, that's not just limited to America. As a matter of fact, just to prove a point, and this isn't really going to be something I talk about at length today, but just to kind of give you an idea of what kind of lengths people will go to. There was elections held in Canada, and the winner ran on and was voted in based on the Canadian population. And I swear to God, this was their number one issue: concerns over Trump. So the Canadians elected a prime minister who was going to be, quote unquote, tough on Trump. He looks like he's going to be tough on Trump for about maybe 5 minutes until he actually talks to Trump, and then Trump's going to actually show him what it's like to have that tough talk before you actually talk to him, and then when you meet him, he's going to be in for a little bit of a surprise. Either he's going to charm him so much that he's not going to know what to say, or he's going to passive aggressively basically suggest that, yeah, you're so meaningless, I don't really give a shit about you. But when I heard the way Canadians were reacting to this, I was like, and of course Jordan Peterson weighed in. I didn't even get to see his full comments because I imagine they probably have been taken down in a lot of places. But I can't fathom how. But at the same time, I guess I can, because it goes back to the trucker protests, and God damn, excuse me. I mentioned this before, I think. The trucker protests, essentially, the Canadian government couldn't really go on record to say that the reason that the trucker protests were cracked down on so hard was because we're authoritarian scumbags who want more control over everyone's life in Canada, and we're modeling ourselves after the CCP, and we're like, they can't tell the truth about Justin Trudeau's little, mini Castro ambitions. So they have to say that somehow MAGA Republicans in the United States were funding the trucker protests as a way to attempt to bring more radical conservatism to Canada. And that's really what they believed. And it was like, first of all, Trump wouldn't care. Second of all, why the hell would any MAGA Republican, whether they, even if they're in the House or the Senate, but certainly I could guarantee no American citizen who's a conservative cares one bit about trying to spread American-style conservatism to Canada. And that's not on their to-do list. That's not even that's not even something that's like a passing thought. That's something that if somebody brought up, they'd say, "What? What are you talking about?" That's not even it. But they had to run on that as if it was some serious big conspiracy, because once again they couldn't handle the fact that it was an organically formed convoy of people that were peacefully protesting the fact that that just like here in the military and in the private sector and in government, obviously government jobs and things. You were totally not allowed to keep your job if you didn't also take your little mandated vaccine that was an experimental vaccine that still has been completely nowhere near thoroughly researched and nowhere near considered safe, and wasn't nearly effective enough. So safe and effective, both of those were kind of bullshit. At least as far as they knew, because there's no way they could have known at the time. But they couldn't admit any of that. They can't admit that. They can't admit that vaccine passports were ridiculous. It blows my mind, because when you look at places around the world that didn't do what we were so stupid enough to do, and locking everything down, for as long as we did, and every country that didn't do that, like, and got their economy opened again much faster, got their schools opened again much faster, they all did far, far better coming out of the pandemic, and even today are doing far, far better in certain categories, at least in education. That's a big one. But like, there's not even really an argument. So, and you can't argue deaths either, because there are more deaths per capita in the countries that had more draconian lockdown procedures. And, you know, call me crazy, but it does make sense that, you know, somebody happens to catch the virus, you know, government says that you should lock your doors and close your windows and make sure everything's sealed up so that you're not outside where that dangerous COVID is. You're inside where no one could possibly have it, and there's no way that anybody's going to come near you and give you COVID because masks don't protect you. And I mean, it's like it's something that, like, you know, in a society in panic is not going to obviously arrive at in a state where they're really concerned about everything on top of the situation. Like, I remember the freaking toilet paper rush. That was one of the. I remember those fat ladies that were fighting over toilet paper in like a Target or something. I don't even remember where they were, but Walmart, something like that. But it's because one lady just had this whole freaking cart full, just filled with toilet paper. And one thing, I mean, I will say this: at least, you know, those people that did that, they won't need toilet paper. They probably still don't need toilet paper. But, well, I guess maybe they did. They were really, never mind. Anyway, yeah, so my point's just that that's a great example of the desire to push the stories that you want to be true as opposed to the stories that actually are true based on reporting. And it's been good to see, like, I mean, the contrast between people who are trustworthy, even if they're on the left. There's plenty of reporters who are more left-leaning that report the truth. It's just, you know, more or less mainstream media more than anything else that is totally aligned with Bernie Sanders and AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Adam. Oh God, the shithole Schiff and his. Oh God, don't get me started. Anyway, that's just their game. They are so consistently freaked out by their own self-induced panic that they don't care to find out the truth. And it's not that hard to wait and see. But another reason I think they obviously push it as fast as possible is like the situation with tariffs, or the situation like the situation with eggs, and like the situation with everything basically at this point. They don't say, like with Biden, like, well, it's still early, we'll have to wait and see what the long-term effects of this are. They say, oh my goodness, look at the price of eggs, they're up like crazy. And then they go down and then they switch topics. Oh my goodness, look at how he's handling these tariffs. They're gonna have skyrocketing inflation. And then it's like, and then as the job numbers start to go up, and then as the GDP numbers start to go up, and as the market starts to level back out again, they're trying to find something else to talk about. So now they're talking about China, and I find it funny that that's the new talking point, because I mean, I guess we're gonna maybe see we're gonna see the return to you can't call it the China virus, and that's racist to say this about China or that about China. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see them stand up for the CCP again after. Now, by the way, if you haven't heard the discussions in the between some of the more higher-ranking officials and like State Department and with the FBI like intelligence agencies. There's a lot of evidence about potentially the gain of function research and NIAID, and of course that means that Lord Fauci is potentially, even with his blanket pardon, you know, there may still be trouble for the guy. But that doesn't mean they're going to not go out swinging, because as a matter of fact, another thing that was really disturbing going on recently was I can't remember her last name now. Virginia, geez, why can't I remember her name? She was one of the original Jeffrey Epstein accusers, witnesses to the abuse. Had been working for Jeffrey Epstein for 10 years. Virginia, man, I cannot remember her last name. But real wild shit going on here, because this didn't all come out at first. It came out that she passed away, and it seemed a little odd that she passed away so suddenly, because she wasn't old. She was like 42, 41, 42, so barely older than me. And she was just, all I heard was she was found dead in her apartment, and I didn't hear much about that until later, when I heard about some sort of message or note or text message, something like that came out 4 days before, mind you, 4 days before this, saying I'm not suicidal, and I'm having no thoughts of suicide. And guess what her cause of death was labeled? If you guess suicide, you're ding, ding, ding right. Which, you know, once again, we don't have all the details, but I would bet that they're as shady as the ones around Epstein, with the most secure prison in this country, and the most high-profile sex trafficking of minors case of any American citizen I've ever heard of, and connections to the biggest names globally, like Virginia. I wish I could remember her last name. You know what? Let me see if I can find it real quick, just to give her the proper respect, because I mean, she really went out on a limb to do this. I mean, she was going up against, I mean, her particular case was with Prince Andrew of the UK, the black sheep of the royal family. Well, at one point, now Prince Harry, I don't know, could maybe take that mantle, but well, no, still, I think Andrew would probably still be the one. But Virginia Giuffre, that's it. I think that's her married name, but either way, that's her name. Virginia Giuffre. Was it? Oh, she was born in Sacramento, California, in the Central Valley. So not once again, pretty close to where I live too. I'm in the valley, as I've said before. I'm not in the Southern California. I'm not along the coast. I'm in the valley where there's still some sanity left. But anyway, she was born in that's obviously Sacramento. Obviously, is the capital, and I've been there many times. It's not really too exciting. I did play in a couple fighting game tournaments there. They were really fun, but other than that, not much going on. Well, no, I take that back. I've actually seen quite a few good shows there too. Like, oh man, how many times have I seen freaking? I saw Blink-182 there a long time ago. Anyway, let's see. And she was living in Australia. I forgot to mention that part. She had been living in Australia for quite a while, ever since the whole story had blown up. But yeah, man, I wish I could remember. Anyway, but yeah, Virginia Giuffre. Yep, she was very outspoken and encouraged a lot of other people who were part of the ring of girls that were being trafficked to also speak out. So several other girls were directly inspired by her to speak out about the abuse that they had suffered from Jeffrey Epstein, and it's really sad. It's really sad, and it's really scary too. It's really alarming because like, once again, here we go again, another suicide, huh? That's what it is. It's a fucking suicide that seems to happen just every once in a while. Oh, geez, sorry about that. I think I hit that twice. Anyway, so it's going to come out, and all the official reports are going to say that. But even probably the biggest question, because this is the thing that really is like connecting the dots all together right now, is you got to know that Kash Patel and the new DOJ for the United States has had to be in contact with some of the Epstein clients and some of the Epstein victims, some of the stories that they've told and probably had to retell or whatever. And on top of that, there's been a lot more circulation of the discussion around whether or not, where are all these supposed records? Because as Virginia has claimed time and time again, there were cameras running constantly in Jeffrey's home and in his house in the island, in the Caribbean islands, and he basically had cameras set up pretty much anywhere and everywhere he had his illegal sex trafficking operation, and I mean, you got that kind of level of dirt, and you've compromised people at that high a level. I mean, I don't know, you better have some muscle. And I don't mean you, I mean you better have some hired muscle that really is intimidating or has got some kind of serious threatening kind of presence, or some kind of way to really keep people hesitant from doing something. Because if you don't, that's exactly what's going to happen. Same thing that happened in Jeffrey. And there's no way that, as far as I know, I hadn't heard anything from Virginia Giuffre for a long time, since she would pop up every once in a while when there'd be new developments in the Epstein case, but you could tell she was trying to just basically move on from the whole thing after she said her piece, and after Prince Andrew went on television and was interviewed and made himself look like a complete fool. And if anybody was in doubt about his guilt, it was so obvious after that discussion, because of the responses he gave and some of the most ridiculous answers you could possibly imagine to questions that were very specific and very pointed based on testimony from victims. So yeah, it's incredible, but I think this may be, it was a gamble either way, so this could be an overreach by people who are trying to keep this quiet still and not keep, but because I mean, you know, there's the black book is in the hands of the FBI, and they have yet to release all the names, obviously. But I think that now, with the stakes being raised again, maybe they do. I mean, it could be because they want some kind of sign of these tapes, or some kind of assurance that they can get at least a significant chunk of these tapes because of the value that they would provide to any, obviously, you know, video testimony, video evidence is like some of the strongest type of evidence you could use in court. So they're definitely going to want to have that. But if you release names without evidence, that gives, obviously, you know, that's one thing that they really hate to do, because it gives people cause to lawyer up, it gives people cause to take off, it gives people cause to, you know, really make themselves unavailable all the time. And so I can get why there would be hesitation. But at the same time, you got to know that, like, there's people around there that know. They know. There's definitely people around our very Department of Justice and the upper levels of the political parties in Washington that are completely aware of all this bullshit, and they just once again care too much about party and not at all about Americans or about victims of sexual abuse or anything like. I mean, nothing they claim is obviously anything that they really stand for. But you know, because how long has this shit been going on for now? This was during Trump's first term, right? Or was it before that? Or was it during that? I know it was around the same time, but I think it was before. But anyway, long story short, you might want to keep an ear out for any new developments there, because man, that's looking real serious. So anyway, so we'll kind of blaze through some of these events from mostly last week, a couple things from this weekend, and a little bit from today, but not much in that regard, just a few things. And then we'll get on to the main event for today, because trust me, this one, like I said, I think we could use something a little more laid back. I've been talking about nothing but serious stuff almost every show recently, and I think a little bit more of a kick back and chill and laugh and have a good time episode would be very welcome for everybody, I think, at this point. So before we do that, though, there's a couple of things. Number one, as I promised, here's the infamous Knuckles. Now, bear in mind that somebody talked about Photoshop. It was clearly Photoshopped or whatever. And I think I know what they mean. And if I'm correct, they're dumber than I thought. But but even if they are referencing something else, I don't know how they see this as a Photoshop. This looks like a legit old cruddy tattoo to me. This is like, this is a tattoo done with, without any kind of actual tattooing, equipment or anything. This is just like single needle and just crappy ink and that's about it. And the thing is that that's right. I remember now. I don't know what it is about people that report, like they should know these things, and I'm sure they do, and I'm sure they're just trying to cover up. But do they think everybody is just so stupid that they're going to go along with it? Because gangbangers, they don't always just put the gang that they don't wear jerseys for the gang they're affiliated with. That doesn't mean they don't represent the colors or their styles or whatever, Hell's Angels. I talked about them recently. You've got, leather vests, and top and bottom rocker, and then you got the center gang logo on every cut, which would be the name for the leather vest, and almost all biker gangs have some form of leather vest with rockers and the logo for the gang. Hispanic gangs almost always have bandanas. They usually use them in their waist pockets to cover up firearms. A lot of black gangs do that as well, but it's more prevalent with Hispanic gangs, it seems like. Latin Kings being one of the most predominant there, because and somebody was talking about this the other day. Is like you don't. This is one of the most damning things about this whole situation. You don't walk around in like New York or Chicago wearing all black, gold, and purple. Like, you don't do that and not be affiliated with the Latin Kings and walk into an area you know that is heavily populated with Latin Kings. Because at best, you're getting an ass whooping. That's not, gangs don't, I mean, I don't know if anybody here is old enough to remember this, but I certainly remember it when I was growing up, and the Bloods and the Crips were, you know, everybody was fearful of all the drive-by shootings and all the people caught in crossfire and mistaken identity cases and all this stuff going on. And so even me, a little, you know, redheaded white kid that had not one aspect about me looked like I was affiliated with any kind of gang culture whatsoever, and yet even I was kind of talked to by teachers, by my parents, by other students, by everybody that, like, you know, blue and red don't wear predominantly all just those colors, and you know, it's like, so I mean, it's in fucking Liar Liar, the movie, for fuck's sake. Like, there's a joke about that early on in the movie, about how he says he was wearing neutral gang colors when he was driving a rough neighborhood. I mean, that's something you don't do. You don't go around pretending to be in a gang if you're not in the gang, or you're going to be hurt. There's been so many stories about, I watched this documentary about Hell's Angels, where this guy who was a very, very old time Hell's Angel, like early on when the gang just got started, after World War II era, the club didn't really have a ton of memorabilia at the time, and he had some memorabilia, but all the stuff that he personally had, he'd moved all over the country. He didn't have much left, and he had talked to somebody, and apparently talked to the wrong person, because they went and told one of the enforcers for the gang. They showed up with another guy at his house and beat the shit out of him. Took all of his Hells Angels memorabilia. They asked him if he had any Hells Angels tattoos, because if he did, they would have cut him off him right then and there. I mean, they don't play. That's biker gangs or street gangs, or, you know, whatever you're talking about. They don't fuck around with that shit. You don't claim you're part of a gang if you're not. So if this guy really is, I can tell you right now, if he had knuckle tattoos like this and he wasn't part of MS-13, he'd have his fingers broken or cut off or something, because you don't do that. As a matter of fact, well, I won't get into that. I'll keep it less personal, and I could tell us some stories, but I won't go there. Anyway, but so here it is. Here's what the left seems so confused about as to how this could possibly mean someone is actually affiliated with MS-13, even though, like, every sign in the world seems to point to the fact that, yeah, they definitely are affiliated with MS-13. So anyway, Mr. Garcia, the Maryland man. But there's a funny twist to this story, which I'll get to as soon as we get done with this part. But the knuckle tattoos that that are in question here. Let's get to that first. Okay, real quick. So this is what I was going to say. If they're saying that this is obviously Photoshop because somebody was using these as a translation point for how these are used, that is so incredibly stupid that defies all logic. Because the point is, and this is something they do a lot. This is why, once again, I talked about 13 already, because it's homage to the Mexican Mafia, which was the biggest prison gang, Hispanic prison gang in Southern California in 60s, 70s, and even today probably in Southern California, they probably still are the biggest prison gang of Hispanics, at least. But anyway, the point is that you have something there that represents what you want it to say. So, like in the case of, like I said, originally Mexican Mafia, they changed their name to La M because they wanted to still have that homage to the Italian mob, but excuse me, but they wanted to have some, as they described, Hispanic flavor to it, where they had something that sounded more Hispanic than Italian, and so they went with the letter M, and in Spanish it would be La M, and so, and that's spelled E-M-E, so that was something that was seen consistently. But the point is that 13 was to reference the 13th letter of the alphabet, M, and so if you ever watched Dan Bongino's show and Frank Fugazi with the 8, that's 8. That I've been hearing about that forever, because that's the Hail Hitler HH, but that's 8, because he wanted to make sure you knew that it's neo-Nazi. It's neo-Nazis. They're coming for you. Meanwhile, this is just Photoshop. This isn't a problem. No, what they're doing is they're spelling it out for morons who don't understand that marijuana leaf, smiley, the cross that looks like a number 1, and skull, which skull is that? There's a it says in a another picture what the it's not S because it's T, it's got to be T. Anyway, hold on, let me get to, we'll just finish this. Yeah. 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 There we go. Here it is. Ah, okay. So it's skull or craneo, which is in Spanish. That's skull, obviously, and that's C for the third letter. There's a lot of numbers to letters transformations. I've heard some people use just use MST for 13 because that's the number 13, obviously. So yeah, I've heard that as being and lucky for me, S for smiley, and sonrisa, I guess, is the I didn't even know that at all, but okay, that's for S, and obviously marijuana, that one makes sense. One cross. I'm guessing it's because it looks like a 1, because as you saw on the way the cross was was tattooed on, it was slightly at an angle, and so it looked more like a 1 than a cross that's perfectly like T-shaped. So, yeah, it's just. But once again, I mean, and these aren't nitpicks, and these aren't things. These are ways that people know that they're in gangs. I heard this one officer in New Mexico who there's a prison gang there called the Sindicato Nuevo Mexico, the Syndicate of New Mexico, and it's obviously a Hispanic gang. So he had an S&M tattoo on his back, and when they asked him what that was about, he said, "Oh, it means sunny New Mexico." So obviously, yeah. Oh, okay, no problem then. No, that's not how it works. Once again, there's been gang members who have dropped out of the gang and joined witness protection programs and helped to take down major organized crime organizations that have given full breakdowns of how this shit works, explaining in detail how they will hide certain aspects of a tattoo in a larger tattoo. Like I've mentioned the Aryan Brotherhood before. If you ever see the Shamrock tattoo that's hidden in a bigger tattoo, or if you find the letter, the 666 numbers put in a pattern like in a clover leaf, and that's mixed into another tattoo somewhere as well. That once again relates back to the Aryan Brotherhood. These are all gang related tattoos. There's no denying it. That's what they are. And once again, if they weren't, these people would be dead. They'd be killed. Because, not to mention, aside from the fact that this guy had this on his knuckles, he was hanging out with other MS-13 members. And that's the final straw. Because there's not anybody in the world who would think that actually knows anything about gang culture that would say that somebody is allowed to do that they're allowed, even if they're a friend of the gang, even if they're helpful to the gang, even if they know a ton of people in the gang and they're not a member, but they do their best to help out with things here and there that they get asked to do. Even if you're not a full-fledged member, you do not put anything on you that is representative of a full accepted and confirmed member of the gang, period. Or you're dead, because some young upstart that wants to make a name for himself by killing some poser is gonna fucking do it. It's not hard. It's not complicated to figure out. That's how gang culture is. Because people in gangs, they know they're gonna end up, and that's the other thing about this guy. This guy knew he was gonna be in prison all his life one day. Every gangbanger knows that he's going to either be dead or in prison one day for sure. That's the way gang life is. And so, he's not in a place where I can tell you he's not in a place where he's uncomfortable. He's not in a place where he's not familiar. He's both familiar and comfortable with where he's at right now. He knows how to survive there, and he'll probably survive there pretty well. But yeah, that's unless he does something really stupid with a higher up. But I mean, just the point is that just based on his character and the fact that he obviously was out in the time where he had this picture taken, I think, where he was out with the other members, and he was selling all kinds of different drugs on him, and he had a fat stack of cash on him, so obviously he's selling drugs. And there's another one like that. If you're on their territory making money off of their clients in the area, and you're not, well, you shouldn't be doing it anyway, but if you do, you better be giving a kickback. And if you're not part of the gang and you're giving a kickback, it's going to be a huge kickback, because you're going to be paying more than half of what you made, without a doubt. There's no room for in between in gangs. Either you're a part or you're not. And I heard a story of a guy who was an older guy. He was in his like 70s, late 60s or 70s, and this gang that he was involved in was a California-based gang, Hispanic gang, and they kind of said, you're getting older, man. You've put in your time. You don't need to be out, doing all the hustling you've always done. If we need you for something, we'll hit you up. But otherwise, go live your life, man. And for a while, everything was fine until first he started kind of getting involved with youth groups and warning them about the dangers of gang culture. But then when they found out he had went to a shop and had his tattoo covered up that was on his back that was for the gang, that was a big no-no, and they went to his house and executed him right there. And he literally he was pruning his rose bushes when he was shot. And so, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. This is not just a bunch of idiots and low IQ thugs. These are people that are highly ruthless, very well informed, very well connected, and especially the higher ups. I mean, you got to know that these guys are almost in solitary confinement for the entire time they're in prison, and yet they still are able to run the entire operation from solitary confinement within a prison. How is that possible? Oh, it's possible. Believe me, watch a documentary on how they do it. There's so many things they do that are just incredibly, like, just to think of it. And it's because, they read Sun Tzu, they read The Art of War, they read all these classic, very comprehensive historical accounts of strategy for warfare and strategy for the mental preparation for traumatic and dangerous situations and things like that. Like, they go in with the knowledge of what they're doing fully and 100% willingly. So anyway, I'm sorry I got off on a tangent, but we'll continue this now. But it's so annoying to hear that people will sit there and see that and say, oh no, but look, it's just Photoshop. No, it's not Photoshopped. Anyway, yeah, that's just, it's pathetic. It's pathetic to have I'm sorry, the volume wasn't on there. I'm sorry about that. Well, there wasn't a lot going on in that last part. But anyway, just kind of making a joke about how stupid people are that are trying to defend this shit. But anyway, so that's not the end for Mr. Abrego Garcia, though. We'll get to that in just a second. But that's just kind of the point there of, once again, a fantasy land of people that are telling you what they want to believe and not what's true. And that came back to bite them in the ass in this situation now, because they were able to maintain it through all this other shit, which is crazy and wild that after all this they were still holding the line on this one until finally some recordings and some documentation of testimony given by his wife during periods of time where, he was doing what we all said and was, abusing the shit out of her. She tapes of that surfaced, and they were incredibly disturbing, and it was obvious that this guy was not upstanding Maryland father and husband who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, an innocent man who was persecuted by this evil racist administration. No, that's not the situation. This guy is a gang member who is also a domestic abuser and alcoholic and is responsible for God knows probably how many deaths, and is also illegally in the country. And the reason you're up in arms is because we sent him back to his country of origin when he cried like a little baby because 18th Street gang is going to kill me if I go back to my home country. Like, that's where I am like, okay, you know, I thought this is like some kind of, you know, and not to say that, you know, other members of the gang don't embody this kind of fucking kind of image of like, don't fuck with that guy, but if this guy goes around and it's like, oh no, I'm gonna get murdered by 18th Street unless I get deported somewhere else, like, that's such a, I don't know, it just seems like not exactly in character with the same kind of guy that would be doing what he's doing. But anyway, so he would be just sent to a different country if it was the best case scenario for him, because that was the problem, was that the gang that doesn't exist there anymore is a gang he was afraid of getting killed by, so he wanted to be deported somewhere else if he was getting deported. And the Democrats had a huge problem with that because they just don't want him deported at all, even though that wasn't even what the issue that was raised was about. That's not what anybody said about the, what's this called? Well, anyway, so anyway, let me get on to the other story about this, and this is where they're starting to kind of see that it's getting out there that this guy isn't the stand-up gentleman we thought he was. You know, maybe he actually is a pretty bad guy. Well, I don't know. And I swear, their talking points become so pathetic after this that it's just, I mean, it's predictable, but that's why, one of the main reasons why it is so pathetic. It's just so pathetic, and it is worth laughing and ridiculing these people entirely, because they have no idea what they're talking about at all. They're just spouting bullshit that sounds compassionate, because that's what we do. We're compassionate. Not for you American citizens who are struggling and you know, having to deal with all the bullshit we shuffled into all your neighborhoods. But no. The illegals that we're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to every month, that, you know, those are the people that are really deserving of sympathy. Like, oh man. So anyway, so this is where I first heard about the issues that were starting to form with this guy, and that maybe he wasn't the ideal candidate. Surprise, surprise. Okay, hold on just a second. We'll pull this up right now. Is it this one? Yeah. Oh, and there's another problem. Hold on just a second. I noticed the volume was up really loud for oh, that's why. Okay, I see. There, that should help quite a bit with the sound for the actual video. But anyway, let's get this going. Is it? Yeah, here we go. Okay, all right. So I can't remember who all is highlighted in this video, but it's a cast of characters, all right, and it's a fun cast of characters. So don't worry, we'll enjoy it. But yeah, this is about as shameless as you can get. So let's enjoy, and here we go. Oh, whoops, wrong button. Oh yeah, we're good. Oh. Oh, I see what's going on. Hold on. I'm sorry, you guys haven't been able to hear anything because, hold on, let me see. I think it's because the audio device isn't correct. Like I said, once again, when I shifted around a bunch of PC hardware, randomly certain things changed and certain things didn't. I have more than one sound card. It didn't. Well, that did get all messed up. I have more than one graphics card. That didn't get all screwed up. I have more than one Wi-Fi card. That didn't get screwed up. But so I don't understand it. But anyway, I think I just have to hold on. Let me switch OBS to have the desktop audio. Here we go. Yeah. Should be this one. Okay, let's try this again and see if this works. Oops.
Three Virginia correction officers are in.
Now it's doubling up. Hold on. Oh, you know what's missing? I think it's the. Or wait, is this? No, that's not it. I'm sorry, this is really weird. Is this the? Hold on, let me just check this real quick. Oh, why isn't there a audio setup for? There should be one for the video player. That's right. Why is that one not on? Hold on. That one should be the one on usually anyway. Unless they're not. Damn, come on. There's got to be something that goes on here. And why is there, oh, that may be because insert is on. Here, let me just hear this. I'm sorry, I don't want to blow your ears out, but let me just make sure.
Virginia correction.
Yeah. It sounds like it's coming through a robot. Here, hold on. Let's start here. Let's see if this does something.
Officers are in.
Nope, that's not it. I'm sorry. Hold on, you guys. Give me just a minute. I'm sorry. I just don't want to have sound that's making your ears uncomfortable while you're listening. Now, where is it? Okay, it's coming out here on this. What's going on with this? Let's go to sound settings. I know what it might be. Hold on. Let's get rid of this. Come on. There you go. Um, oh, hold on a second. Oh, well, maybe it's just, I don't know if anybody else has a problem. Maybe it's just me, but. Let's see. Okay, one more time. Let me see. Let me see what we got here.
In the hospital.
No, it's still. It could be because I'm monitoring and hearing it from the player. Well, okay. Let me just here. I have an idea. Let me try one last thing. I'm sorry about this, guys. This is really weird, but I'm surprised there isn't a like. Well, if we go to Alt real quick. What is this anyway? Oh, that's my cam link. Okay. This is desktop audio once again. Man, this is. You know what? Let me just try one thing. Maybe it's. Let's try just a different video just to see, because I just realized I didn't hear it in the first video. Maybe it's just this video, and I have to kind of skip over it if that's the case. But hold on just a second. Let me just see if I can. Let's go on. What was? We'll go back to the knuckle video again. Here, hold on. Let's see.
It is worth noting.
Nope. Same thing. Hold on. Wait a minute.
That actually, so let's show.
Yep. Okay. This is weird. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Give me just a minute. Let me figure out the best way to do this. I could just have Windows Media Player or whatever media player I'm going to use be the source, I guess. But this has never been a problem before. I don't know why it's a problem now. What in the hell is it picking up? There's got to be something that's picking. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, hold on. What does this do again? I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. Oh shit. What are my settings set on here? Geez, I swear once again, this will give you a little taste of what comes up every once in a while, and it just gets weirder and weirder every time I dig in. Okay, hold on. That's not it. This is what I'm looking for. Oh, oops, sorry about that. Are 9 and 10 actually going out right now? Here, let's see. Damn it. Yes, they are, and they're being monitored, and that might be why. Okay, just one more try here.
Show you the tattoo.
No, that's not it either. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I think I know what's going on. Yeah, because that's been on the whole time. Let's see real quick now.
Right now. So this is the...
No, that's not it either. Holy hell. Damn it. There's only one other thing I can think of. I could try this. And then there's one last ditch effort, I guess. But this is really frustrating. Again, I swear, when I had this issue, I had to reset the sound settings back to the basic. And unfortunately, now it's making like everything gets screwed up. First, my mic was I don't like hearing my mic in my headphones, so I try to isolate it just to come out through the speakers, and then I don't have to hear it at the same time. For some reason, I had problems with that again, and I wonder if it's because of... this is strange, man. Because I've never heard it sound like that before at all, and it's... Oh, I wonder if it's because... here's another thing it could be. It could be one more thing with OBS I didn't think of. Once again, oh, you can't select... yeah, damn. Wait, I wasn't selecting SPDIF, was I? No, I don't think so. Hang on. I can always add another audio, I guess. And I'm thinking that's what I'm going to have to do one way or another, but... Here. Oh, wait, hold on. Nope. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, if we switch over to this one, and then damn it. Where's okay? Face cam. This is okay. Screen. Oh, hold on. Screen capture. Let's see. Oh no, that's not it either. Cause that screen capture would be. Oh, is this set to have output? No, it's not. Huh. Man, this sucks. Okay, let's add one more thing, I guess. I'll have to add, uh, oh, but this is, yeah, that won't work either because it's gonna point to different files, so, man, what am I doing wrong here? Something is off. Something is completely off. And I don't know what it is. What if we turn this off? Oh, here. And then, let's see about this one. Oh, wait, oops. Properties, Man, this sucks. Oh, wait. Screen capture. Why can't I change the, Okay, screen capture, but why can't I change screen capture to not, playback audio? Damn. Let me see if I can find it on this list. If I can find it on here, that might do it. Cause I know, I mean, the intro sequence played and it didn't have any background hum and fuzz, so, easy. Man, this is fucking weird. I can't freaking think straight. No, don't let this ruin this episode. Come on. We got this. I might need to take a break just to try and figure out the... I really don't want to, but I might have to do that just to... I don't want you guys to have to sit here forever while I figure this out, but... This shouldn't be happening. But, I mean, there's nothing new there. There's a lot of stuff that shouldn't be happening. It happens all the time. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, one last thing I gotta check, I guess. Hold on. Audio settings here. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That might have been why. I forgot to reset the monitoring device for me so that I can hear things, and then as a matter of fact, oh jeez, I'm sorry. I completely forgot about the whole setup with. Well, it's because I haven't had to do this in forever, and I didn't expect this was going to come up, but. Okay, let me see if we're good. Are we good? Oh, one last thing. Let me go back to audio and. Okay. Huh. I wonder if 7 or 9, 10 would get. Well, one last thing. Let's try this real quick. It doesn't let you. Damn, I keep bumping the mic. Let's set that back to 9 and 10. Okay, one more time. There it is. I knew it. I guessed it. I'm sorry, you guys. This is what I mean. I have to make sure I check everything anytime anything changes on my computer, because otherwise everything's going to go haywire. I hate Windows 11. I swear I hate Windows 11. And I don't know too many people that like Windows 11, because I swear to God, they changed so much. And every time you have any kind of update or hardware change or change of, like, you change a freaking USB cord, they make you freaking reset a bunch of stuff. It's ridiculous. Anyway, all right, so sorry about that. That was a long and drawn out load of crap. So, to lighten the mood, we'll get back to, and I'm really sorry about that, you guys. I'm really sorry about that. But to lighten the mood, we'll get back to that last clip that I was going to play, and then we'll get into the more amusing part of the show, because quite frankly, I need it now after that whole spiel. But anyway, let's go with that. Let's go with that clip I was going to put on, and we'll put that up now. So this is once again about Mr. Maryland Man and what they have all discovered and what they're now discovering as how to handle this. So Oh shit. Whoop. Sorry, one more time. I gotta turn the audio on now. But there we go.
3 Virginia correction officers are in the hospital after what officials say was a coordinated stabbing by inmates connected to MS-13.
This comes as Democrats try to distance themselves from deported MS-13 suspect Kilmar Abrego Garcia after new audio from his wife detailing domestic violence allegations surfaces.
We're not vouching for Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We are vouching for his constitutional rights.
I think our advocacy here has a little bit less to do with him individually and more the process and the fact, the lack of due process that this administration continues to act with.
The Democrat Party wrapping their arms around a known human smuggler, a wife beater, a violent criminal that was finally held accountable for his actions. The fact that they went to the mat for this guy just shows exactly who they are, that they are people who don't put America first. They don't care about our citizens and protecting our communities. So I'm glad that the onion's been peeled back and that their true motivations have been revealed. And this is just one of the cases that we're getting off the streets. You know, since President Trump has been in office, we have removed thousands and thousands of violent criminals, and people are safer today.
So obviously, Democrats have come a long way from the time when they lectured all of us about believing all women. They seem to not be so interested in his wife's testimony, her statements about what he did to her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and repeatedly. And over again, and the other people who witnessed it, those other people who witnessed these beatings and these abuses too. And you listen to the emotion in her voice and the trauma, and then they backed up this guy and they fought for him and they flew to El Salvador to stand with him and say, this is the kind of guy I want to be friends with and advocate for and throw our federal laws and throw the United States of America under the bus for. Boy, I tell you what, this is a new low for Senator Van Hollen, but for the Democratic Party and for the mainstream media that they perpetuated this. They started all of this and gave it a platform to gain momentum.
Yeah. For those who haven't heard that, I think it's important for people to listen because it's poignant. Listen.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, wait, never mind. This was something else. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, isn't it, to hear they dropped already the Maryland, this Maryland father, Maryland man, and now Mr. Abrego Garcia. It's not even about him. It's about this executive branch, and they're overstepping their authority. Really, that's what it's about, huh? That's what it's about. It's bullshit. You guys are more than happy to go freaking fly down to El Salvador. And don't those 5 fucking numbskulls look just like brilliant at this point, don't they? No, it's just it's a clown show, and it's absolutely hilarious to see them do, because this is becoming quite possibly. I mean, I don't know how. It's very soon still, but I don't know how you have a party that rebounds. If you remember, after January 6th. Republicans were getting attacked left, right, and center. And it didn't matter if they disavowed January 6th. It didn't matter if they just disavowed the people that did violence. It didn't matter it didn't matter what they did. They were pilloried all over every cable news station for every single aspect of the whole thing. Essentially, if they didn't drop their Republican affiliation and join the Democrat Party, they were just as guilty at that point. And if you remember the time period, Republicans just took the beating. They stood up and said what they thought was true and kept moving on. They didn't find every random story, every random jab, every little tiny little thing they could pick out of a freaking jar of freaking I don't know where I was going with that analogy, but they couldn't come up with anything whatsoever that was. It's just ridiculous. It's so pathetic that these people have lost an election decisively, have been behaving completely ridiculously irresponsibly for the last 4 years, drove inflation through the roof, drove gas prices through the roof, drove grocery prices through the roof, perpetuated the extension of one of the worst mass surveillance states that was originated in the Obama administration. And on top of all of that, they had a president who wasn't really president. And so we still have no idea who is actually making decisions in this country. And yet, no constitutional crisis there. And bear in mind, this is a administrative branch that once again defied the Supreme Court several times, that essentially broke the law several times, that had been found out about the laptop's authenticity and about how there were all these ties to the Biden family in Ukraine, and the Biden family in China, and the Biden family in here and there and everywhere else. And this reference to the big guy, obviously not a reference to Hunter. And yet we heard nonstop, like on a fucking record that is on repeat, there's yet to be any real evidence that Joe Biden was involved. There's yet to be any real evidence Joe Biden was involved. There's no evidence that Joe Biden was actually involved. There's no evidence that Joe Biden was actually involved. What? There was no evidence that Russia helped Trump win the 2016 election either, but you guys didn't fucking stop on that. These people are fucking lunatics. Once again, now I remember going back to January 6th. Now look at them. They're in the majority in both houses, both sides of the Congress. They have the executive branch, and they have a small margin, but they're accomplishing a lot. And what are the Democrats doing? They're not able to take 1 ounce of criticism. They are directing everything that's wrong at Trump. The only thing they can ever muster to say negatively about their own party is, oh, we should have kicked Biden out early. Which, if that's the best you got, sorry, your party is in a big pile of shit. If the only thing you can say in your defense is, yeah, we should have kicked Biden out before we did and had an actual primary, and then maybe, it would have gone better. No, it wouldn't. You know why? Because DEI, and Kamala Harris had to be the candidate. So, sorry, no, that's not. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, so that was a little bit funnier than I thought. But let's head on to this last story, because this is kind of the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, the peak of what's the best term? The peak of schizophrenic mountain. I don't know what the hell to call it. The epitome of losing touch with reality. So, and as I said in the box, let's make fun of the UK a little bit. Because I've not really talked about the UK. I have a lot of friends in the UK, and I don't want to talk crap about them, but... And I will say this, Nigel Farage got to see some big wins in this last, from what I heard, in this last, I guess it was an election. I know that Labour got bitch slapped by Nigel Farage's new, what is it, Reform UK? I can't remember the name of it. I swear to God, I love Nigel Farage, and I can't remember the name of the new party. I keep thinking of Brexit, and it's not Brexit, but anyway, the point is that that was a major step in the right direction, much better than Canada, I can tell you that. But unfortunately, they still deserve quite a bit of criticism, because Keir Starmer is still an elected official there, unfortunately for the time being. But what really did it is this story that I've been paying attention to for a while. I never dreamed it would reach this level. So if you haven't been made aware, there's of all things, there's a Netflix series on the website in Europe, especially in the UK, and it's called Adolescence. And well, it's a lefty's wet dream in a lot of ways. It's in a nutshell, it's a show about how white young children can get radicalized at young ages by misogynist and racist and violent extremism, I guess, online, and it can happen in as young as, like, grade school, and it can lead them to even do such things as kill a girl who denies them when he asks her out, and it's caused this big stir, and it started off with a lot of people trying to talk about how gritty and raw it is, and what attention it draws to this real life subject. Never mind the Muslim rape gangs. Never mind the epidemic of knife crime among gangs in the country. But let's pay attention to the white incels that are 11 or 12 years old or something, I guess. I don't know. But nevertheless, the point is, like, and believe me, like, the idea of being more aware of what your kids are doing on social media, or even not letting them have social media, I'm all for that conversation. I'm all for those kinds of topics. But this is I mean, for some reason I think it's because of where they're from, but there's this hard-on in Europe to always be pointing fingers at Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate for everything, even though they're not really. I mean, yeah, they've got a huge audience, but I mean, once again, PewDiePie had a huge audience, and like, like there was like guys that are charismatic and that are either making you laugh or making you feel like that guy's really cool or whatever. That's what kids are going to be into, of course. They're going to find people that they idolize, or that they find something admirable in, and they're going to follow it. Now, I'm not one of these people that think Andrew Tate is this giant threat. I think he's like a incredibly more masculine, like tough guy version of Milo, not in the way of what he's talking about, but in the way of how provocative he is. I think he very much likes being provocative, and I think that that's what he's kind of built his brand off of. And so the more provocative he is, the more people are going to be interested in seeing him, but that also means that the more people are going to be interested in trying to find a way to get him deplatformed, or even worse, the whole scandal with I remember the Tucker Carlson interview with him, and he seemed pretty genuine there, although, there's people that have said that no, he is, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, I haven't heard any witness yet myself. If there is one, I just haven't heard it, but I mean, I could be wrong, but show him to me. But that's the thing, that once again, going back to the subject, when you only talk about what you fantasize about and not what's real, I tend to not believe you when you say that there's reports and they want to hide their identity. And it's like, okay, I get it, but if that's the case, then how am I supposed to believe this? Because there's no evidence I can confirm. There's no statement I can take seriously because I can't even hear it. And I know what you guys do to people that you don't like. You do stuff like this to them. So it's hard for me to know exactly where to line up. I'm not going to say something like I would defend Andrew Tate to the death, but I just mean I'm pretty agnostic on it. I'm not one to pass judgment on somebody for how they live their life if they're not breaking the law and they're not hurting anybody around them, which as far as I can tell, they certainly aren't. Maybe they are. If they are, then I'd love to see the evidence. Just like the left kept saying about Biden, I'd love to see the evidence. Let's see the evidence. But, you know, once it comes to leftist causes, you don't need evidence. But here's the thing. This whole thing just is exploding because they need something to pin all of the extreme rise in knife crime in particular, but in overall violence in the country. And so they're doing basically what they did in America, and it's just like openly blame white people for everything, especially white middle class or upper class families that have two parents, and you know, that's the whole thing. And that's the thing about this series that they try to drive home is that, well, this kid had no signs. His parents were together. He came from a good home where he was well taken care of, but this sort of influence was enough to convert him into someone who was able to do this to his classmate. Now, two things. First of all, that flies in the face of everything we know about the way that you know, people like this operate. It's not like you read a bunch of stuff online and suddenly you become a sociopath. Like, that's not how it works. You have to have that ability, and it usually doesn't come from watching videos that reaffirm that. It comes from watching videos of people who actually do what it is you're fantasizing about doing. Because it's not about hearing somebody tell you what you want to do. And that's like, you know, it's one of the rules of people that are online. And like for example, people who are into you know, trading in CP materials, they're not interested just to get some CP photos or whatever. They're interested because they want to connect closer with somebody who they think may be safe and can provide them with new material because that's what they need, because they've had the same, you know, pile of same stuff forever and they want some new stuff. And so when you're talking about sick and twisted monsters like those fucks, it makes sense why they would be really removed from themselves. But in this case, it's not so much. But what really does it is, geez, what are they called? It's I don't know. I can't figure it out. But anyway, the other main point is that knock knock hello. This is a fictional story. It's a fictional story that is obviously politically driven. I mean, there's no two ways about it. This is a story that was driven by a political perspective that was looking to pin a certain type of crime on a certain demographic because it was more politically convenient to them to do it that way than to blame it on a different constituent faction. So they did exactly that. Now, this has led to, I swear I'm not kidding, it's the most unusual thing I've ever seen in my life. A massive rash of a bunch of different political figures and journalists going and approaching people on the opposing end to approach them about how they need to take this story seriously. They need to watch this. If they haven't watched the show, they lambast them for not watching such an important show. If they don't know all the details of the show, they lambast them for that. If they contest that it's actually you know, more impoverished neighborhoods in certain areas where we know there's concentrated crime activity, and we're not able to, you know, do the job we need to do out there. man, it's unbelievable. But here's the final straw, and this is what I mean: the icing on the cake. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I couldn't. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to pull it up because I couldn't believe that this happened. And when I saw this happened, I got to talk about this. And I didn't know when, but like I said, this was the perfect kind of palate cleanser to come after all the serious stuff we've been talking about, because we've reached the center of Looney Town. Like right now, we are in dead smack middle of downtown of the psycho wing of the psychotic capital of the world. We're dead center in the middle of it right now with this story, because to speak like this in this setting about a Netflix television, a Netflix special that's all. I mean, this isn't based on a true story. This isn't, you know, from some sort of event where the names are changed. No, this is all fiction. It's all a fictional story. But because we think that this is happening sometimes, it's important. So we have to take it all the way to this level, and I'll show you in just a second the level, because I'm floored. This is actually from the Matt Walsh show last week, and he was just the right kind of person to discuss this, because he's got the right kind of voice and attitude for this whole thing. And so here, let's just enjoy this together, shall we? Okay. There we go. Okay. So, you ready? You actually ready for this? Are you sure you're ready for this? Because I'm ready for this. All right, here we go.
In very real terms, we are unique. We have a fighting spirit that no other nation on the planet can match. Now, if you attended college in the last 50 years, you've probably been conditioned to not say things like this, to not even think them. You're told that it's gaudy or, you know, a relic of colonialism or something like that. But it also happens to be true. And every day we're reminded that it's true. We can see right out in the open that, well, other nations are inferior to our own, which, by the way, is how we should feel. If you love your country, that's how you should feel about other countries. Look closely enough, and you'll see that that they even kind of admit it. They're preoccupied with their own destruction. So let's start with the UK, which is allegedly one of our closest allies. And a couple of weeks ago, you might remember, we talked about the Netflix show Adolescence and how it's essentially taken over the entire country. Adolescence is a miniseries in which a white 13-year-old boy named Jamie stabs a girl to death after the girl rejects his advances. The hook, if you could call it that, is that the show blames online culture for the killer's actions, at least to some extent. The victim had bullied the 13-year-old boy on Instagram, for example. He'd been called an incel and so on. And the point of the show is that male rage, so-called, is fueled by online misogyny and bullying and the manosphere.
I was pretty spot on.
And that children are liable to become murderers at any moment, even if they live in a loving, stable two-parent household. That's the message the showrunners wanted to convey, even though it flies in the face of common sense and every data point that we have.
I explained that.
Beyond that, you know, there wasn't anything very interesting about the show. The cameraman is doing more interesting things than any of the actors, since everything's supposedly shot in one take. So it was reasonable to assume that after the initial hype died down over this miniseries, that the UK would, you know, move on pretty quickly. That's the normal trajectory that shows like this tend to follow. And indeed, that's what many of my listeners said would happen. I received dozens of comments on the last monologue on Adolescence where several people who lived in Britain explained that actually the show isn't that popular over there to begin with. And additionally, as we discussed, there was an infamous interview broadcast on the BBC where the anchor grills both of the anchors grill a conservative politician about the fact that she hadn't seen the show. They were stunned for the entire interview that she had not watched it. And no matter how much the politician tried to explain to these anchors that the show isn't real, they kept doubling down. And when we played that footage 2 weeks ago, it seemed like it was safe to assume the obsession over the show had jumped the shark. Too absurd to continue.
Like I said,
everyone, even fans of the show, would certainly walk away slowly and find something else to fixate on. But that has not happened in the UK. Instead, Adolescence isn't simply dominating political discussions anymore. Now the show is being used to justify new legislation that would dramatically curtail free speech rights in the country, almost as if that was the point of the show all along. In fact, the show's creators just testified in Parliament to demand this new legislation. Yes, the government held an entire hearing on a fictional TV show in which the show's writer testified as an expert before the government's Women and Equalities Committee. That is the very dire and hopeless state of the so-called United Kingdom at the moment. So we'll start at the beginning of the hearing when a member of Parliament named Sarah Owen begins questioning Jack Thorne, who's the creator and executive producer of Adolescence. And this member of Parliament is very interested in knowing more about Jamie and why he snapped and decided to kill a girl.
Okay, what happened? I don't know what happened here, but hold on. Just this stupid. Oh, I don't know why, but ever since I started using OBS again instead of Streamlabs, this ad for, or no, the sign-in screen for Streamlabs keeps freaking popping up, and I don't get why, and it keeps interrupting shit. Hold on a second. Let me. Where's my video? How do I go back to the Western Digital? What the hell? Okay, here, hold on. Jeez. Sorry, I don't know any other way to do it.
In very real terms, we are unique. We have there's a bit of a snag because the show's creators just testified in Parliament.
So just let that sink in for a second. I know you had the time while I was fiddling around with this because this stupid thing is driving me nuts. But they invited the show's writers. These aren't... What in the hell is going on here? My LEDs are going crazy too. Anyway, is there a bunch of stuff running or something? No, not really. Anyway, I hope I don't lose my stream, but so yeah, they invite the show's writers who wrote this fictional story to come and discuss the issues that happened in the story that was fictional, that was on Netflix, and use it to discuss real-life legislation that can be done about this issue that was in the show but isn't really reflective of real life. And there are similar situations going on in England, but it has nothing to do with this. It has to do with other things. But they're more concerned about a fictional story's violence and how to fix that in the real world than to fix the real problems in the real world and leave the fixing of the fictional world to the writers to, like, this is reaching peak levels of, like, where are we now? Where do we live? What reality are we in? What's happening? This makes no sense. Nothing makes sense anymore. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, all that stuff. Like, what is happening? How does this happen? Well, I mean, I guess it happens when you demonize an entire sex of people because they're the ones with the male rage, I guess, and they can snap at any time. I remember these discussions kind of going on after that little bitch boy Elliot Rodger went on his little killing spree, which, sorry, he's a little bitch if he is sitting there wondering why, when he's walking around like a narcissist and has his nose up in the air and treats everybody like shit, he's wondering why no girls are just falling at his feet and accepting his advances without hesitation, and so in response he's going to go shoot up a deli where people he he hasn't met in his life. He has no idea who they are. He's going to kill them because they had something to do with it. And by the way, he's also going to kill his 2 geeky Asian roommates who are super intelligent guys and into video games, and they for some reason have to feel the wrath. Why? I thought you were mad at all the jocks and the pretty blonde girls for not accepting you into the upper echelons of social culture. Instead, you're gonna murder a bunch of randos at a deli, and not even a bunch, like maybe a couple, which is still horrible. But I mean, like, you have this plan to I mean. So anyway, the story that came out of that was a bunch of lunatic feminists all coming out and saying, just be aware, all you men out there, you could have a potential Elliot Rodger living within you. I can safely say no. I don't have a little bitch like Elliot Rodger inside me, because you know why? I've actually lived life, and I've had experiences enough to know, like, difference between right and wrong, and I know when something is my fault. I know how to analyze it enough to be able to take responsibility for it. I've done so in the past, and it's not even a brag. It's just that's called life. That's called living, and that's called accepting reality. It's not that I'm a spoiled little brat who every time I cry, my mom takes me out of the school that I'm in because I'm getting bullied, which his examples of being bullied are so pathetic. I mean, they're like 1960s television show bullies. I mean, you know, I got bullied worse than he did, trust me. But no, I'm sorry. We don't all have a bunch of Elliot Rodgers potentially inside of us, because most men out there have a pretty decent moral compass and a pretty decent footing on the ground and understanding of you know, the dynamics between not just men and women, but just interpersonal dynamics in general. And if you actually are able to have that, and you're not a narcissistic, egomaniac, borderline sociopath, then I'd say you're pretty safe. But this is about riling people up into thinking that all it takes is watching a few videos from Andrew Tate online, and suddenly you're the next Zodiac killer, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the message they're trying to get across is. It's going to be helpful, but there's nothing helpful about this. So, then we'll get back to this.
TV show in which the show's writer testified as an expert before the government's Women and Equalities Committee. That is the very dire and hopeless state of the so-called United Kingdom at the moment. So we'll start at the beginning of the hearing, when a member of parliament named Sarah Owen begins questioning Jack Thorne, who's the creator and executive producer of Adolescence. And this member of parliament is very interested in knowing more about Jamie and why he snapped and decided to kill a girl. But, you know, there's a bit of a snag because the politician clearly doesn't understand what the creator of the show is getting at, which leads to this mildly amusing exchange. Watch.
Just wanted to come back on that. So you'd had those clear themes of where, I guess, the responsibility or the interventions could have happened at school or at home and friends.
Yeah, they could have
not
if they wrote
social
them in.
media or influencers. Was that a deliberate choice not to have that kind of theme in with it?
Well, I think it is a theme, and I think it does run through the whole thing. And it was, like I say, part of the sort of sphere of responsibility for Jamie. But that came out in different chunks in different places. As a dramatist, you're always trying to work out ways to tell a story authentically.
What I meant was that it's not like a specific influencer. It was the two of that relationship where he describes, for example, anybody can see. It wasn't the outside influence. It was the influence on social media amongst friends that was the biggest influence. It wasn't a named influencer, for example.
No, I mean, there were lots of things that make up Jamie's complicated brain, and there's lots of things. You know, if I was to describe to you what Jamie's brain looked like, it would take me
what's up, Jay?
9 years to
Sorry,
describe
we're talking
it because
about what's going on
he's
in the
a
UK right
complicated
now, and
mess of things, as we all are, and
lunatics
so all
in,
these things play a role in
the
his
hearing
head.
they're having here.
Well, there's a couple of layers of embarrassment here. First of all, of course, they're talking about a fake person, as if he's
that's
real.
problem number one.
He says that it would take him 9 years to unpack the brain of a fictional character named Jamie, who,
You know, I could maybe understand that about someone like maybe, Gandalf or, I don't know, let's see, who's another good, Hamlet? Like, I don't know, take any great literary work and Dante. Maybe that's an accurate statement for complex figures like that. Jamie from adolescence, I don't know. I don't know if the complication runs that deep that it would need, that much, because we can kind of guess at the idea that the complications are it's those damn Tate brothers probably. That's why they didn't use. Maybe they didn't use people's names on the show because, they don't want to be liable by, the people that they're, suggesting are leading kids to start murdering their friends that they ask out and reject them. Like, I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't want someone's name associated with that. Yeah, that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen. But you'd never know that because this isn't real life. This is a show. This is like, it's like the Twilight Zone. I can't believe
because he doesn't actually exist, does not actually have a brain or a history or emotions, because he's not real. And for her part, the politician who apparently chairs this committee in Parliament keeps pressing for more information about this fictional person. She's really determined to understand what makes this character tick, that they're talking about in Parliament, even though he doesn't exist. And this went on for something like 2 hours, by the way. The hearing was full of moments like this. As it went on, because it became clear that Jack Thorne is especially concerned about conspiracy theories, as he calls them. And at one point in the hearing, Thorne elaborated on the term conspiracy theories. It turns out that, stop me if you've heard this one before, a conspiracy theory is something that's completely true, but highly inconvenient to the political left. Watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you've explained in good detail as to the extent of the level that you did in terms of research and how much you wanted to get this right. How does it feel when you hear, say, the leader of the opposition quote what has been described as conspiracy theories around the race of Jamie being, and she said, fundamentally changed in the story of adolescence?
I think that's to do with her algorithm. And there are a lot of people on X and in other places who make that claim and who have consumed the story that way. So yeah, that just speaks to what she's consuming online, I think.
Right. Because there aren't a bunch of Muslim rape gangs and knife gang fights gang knife fights that are happening all over the UK. That's not a thing. It's actually a bunch of bitter, angry incels that are watching Andrew Tate. That's the epidemic. Yeah. That politician has no idea what she's talking about. This is. I'd be mad. It's too stupid. It's so incredibly stupid. How are people this dumb? I guess I understand it because, like I said at the beginning, they voted for a new Canadian Prime Minister who won because the Canadians' fear of Donald Trump's influence over Canada. And now we have Parliament in the UK discussing the dangers of that were presented in a fictional story about a fictional character that is not real and is being talked about with more fervor and more passion and more interest than the people that are actually committing the crimes in the country. Welcome to Insanoville. I mean, this is, here we go. Buckle up. My goodness, it's...
So that's his response when he's asked about the race swap in adolescence. He's asked about a conservative politician who pointed out that, unlike what you see on Netflix, white kids from stable households are not stabbing very many people in the UK. That's the truth. It's kids from broken homes, along with jihadists, who are doing most of the damage. And in response to that point, which is obviously true, Thorne states that the conservative politician must be consuming the wrong content online.
Yeah.
And the implication, of course, is that anyone who tells the truth about knife crime in the UK and violent crime in general should be censored.
Mm-hmm.
You're required to think that it's young white kids from loving two-parent households that are knifing everyone, and you're supposed to ignore the literal jihadist with an Al-Qaeda training manual in his backpack who murders young girls at a dance studio. Again, this is the state of the UK, a country that we once had a lot in common with, but this is what they're reduced to. I want to show one more clip from this hearing because it just kept getting more and more comical as it went on. Eventually, Jack Thorne left, and he was replaced by a bunch of self-described experts and government officials who supposedly would provide some hard evidence in support of more online censorship. But then a funny thing happened when they were asked for evidence that misogyny is on the rise in the UK, which is what this hearing was supposed to be all about, misogyny.
This level of delusion.
And so they're asked for some evidence on that. They couldn't point to any objective, verifiable information about all the young white men who are going out and killing women because of Andrew Tate or whatever.
Yep,
instead, and I'm not making this up, the experts turned around and cited the show Adolescence and the testimony from Jack Thorne, which everyone had just heard. Watch.
I just want to jump in on a couple of points you both made. So I think you're both in agreement that there seems to be a rise in this type of behaviour in schools. What do you think's fueling that rise?
I think we've just had a really interesting session about a TV drama, but a very important one that I think has touched on many of the contributory factors that we're seeing behind this rise in misogyny.
It's like it's a documentary. And it's like we just heard all this testimony about this very profound documentary that very profound, whatever the hell he called it. He didn't want to say show, he didn't want to demean the integrity of adolescence, It's like he wanted to make sure he treated it with the proper respect because this is to be taken seriously. And the way that they are so convinced that this is what needs to be focused on, this is serious business. I have no words. I have no words. Just finish up, you bald freak.
In schools, I think one of the really important themes that was touched on in the evidence we've just heard was that yes, social media plays an important part in that. Sometimes it can be an accelerant, but there are a whole range of other influences on children and young people that can lead to profoundly inappropriate behaviour. So social media is a really important aspect of it.
So they don't have any data, actually. They just have the show Adolescence and the testimony from its executive producer. According to the government expert that somehow qualifies as evidence in the UK. Time to pass a law eliminating free speech on the internet, I guess.
Yeah.
But the point here is not to mock the UK, as entertaining as that would be. The point is that this kind of embarrassing spectacle is not very surprising for them.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, we've already seen how Donald Trump essentially broke the Democrat Party in this country, and has broken a lot of politicians in other countries, and broken a lot of left-wing what do you call it? Democrats in terms of Democrat demonstrators and things like that. Like he's completely destroyed their grasp on reality. But the problem isn't just that. It seems to be deeper in that the agenda that has been subscribed to is so cultish and so incredibly over the top in its demand for you to never, ever, ever even consider certain demographics, aka white men in particular, that they could ever be anything but a bully or a victimizer and never a victim, and that you know, the Western culture is always the one at fault for everything. And I mean, these sorts of messages that have taken root in countries all over the Western Hemisphere is starting to show that, and I'm hoping this gets across. I'm really hoping. Oh, yeah, you're right. That happened again, man. I don't know what's going on today. I've got to fix this. Something weird keeps happening, man. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Man, I don't get it. This keeps happening randomly, and it just some weird's going on, man. It might be my bit rate. I don't know, but anyway. To wrap up, this whole thing is it's just making me realize, like, that, and I hope to God that this is what ends up happening, because it's going to go one way or another, and it's either going to go in the way of the crazies or in the way of the sane people. And I just hope that there's enough sane people out here that watch things like this, whether it's in their home country or in another country, whatever it is that gets them to recognize, what are they even doing here? When it gets to levels like this, or when it gets to, no, he doesn't have MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles, and he's not a member of that gang, and he's not even an illegal immigrant. He's a Maryland man, and it just, I just hope that people are not so completely dumbfounded that they can get their wits about them to recognize that this is a sign of a group of people who have completely and totally lost their plot, lost any tether to reality whatsoever. The narrative is all that matters, pure and simple, not reality, not truth, not anything measurable, but a abstract vision of some sort of future that they have predicted, that they believe is actually the real reality. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That's all right, man. No worries. But just to wrap up, I just hope that this is the kind of thing that people recognize. Like it's fun to laugh at, but these don't even. This isn't worth giving a second thought to ever. This is worth laughing and walking off. I mean, these people have nothing at all to offer anyone to make anyone's lives better whatsoever. And so anyway, it's still funny, though. It's still funny as hell. And that was why I had to do something more lighthearted today. Everything's been much more serious in the last few shows I did. Had to do something a little bit more fun today so that we could have a little bit of a good time. I'm going to bounce, and I will, I can't make any promises, although I will say this. I have a new capture card coming. There's going to be some guests coming on. I can't say for sure, but they're going to be coming on soon. I'm going to be incorporating another camera, obviously, so that I can have that in the setup. That's why that's coming. I'm also going to be incorporating a new sum mixer for direct control over kind of like the master control for the whole mix on one mixing board. and it also has like the highest quality input output cables that you can pretty much get. And for the show, it's going to sound incredible as far as I can tell, because I have finally reached a point where I can say I've got a setup I think that is unrivaled by anyone I know of that's doing, and that's not a little bit of a brag there, but you know, just because I've worked at this for a long time now to piece this together, and I'd say that it's come along very well. And then finally, I'm really hoping that I can just get back into a little bit more normal of a schedule, but I think I can do that soon, because one thing I can't thank you guys enough for is that when I am on, people still show up, and I still seem to be getting people that follow. And so I can't thank you guys enough. I really appreciate it. Been having a great time when I'm able to do the show, and that's the thing that sucks, is that the times it doesn't work, I really am just incredibly disappointed and depressed. But the days I get to do it, they make it totally worth it. So thanks you guys for sticking with me for as long as you have. I really appreciate it. The best times are yet to come. Until the next show, hopefully tomorrow, maybe the next day, we'll see. But either way, hopefully, and Jay, I will be, I got to run an errand real quick, but when I get back, I'll be on Discord probably. So if you want to hang out, I'll try and hop on there. To everybody else, thank you guys, as always, so much for showing up. I will talk to you on the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a fantastic evening, and I'll see you later. Peace.
Now, I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out. What is
for credits?
I don't know what that means. To play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.